Yes, we can see your slides.
Okay, excellent. So I'm honored to be here, as mentioned, to celebrate International Women's Day with you. Hopefully there's no more interruptions, issues. Thank you to Gona, to all the organizers for making this happen. And I'm Teresa, as mentioned, and a little bit about myself. And I am an app growth strategist working in the mobile environment in the past decade. But I don't want to repeat what we've been introducing, so I start direct to the point. Today I'm going to talk about old and new models in digital businesses due to the effects of greater privacy in the digital industry, how also privacy has become the bottleneck of business models, and how are these going to make a change in the status quo in the digital environment. But before I dive into this topic, I want to ask you one thing. Don't worry, it's just one simple thing, which is try to remember three words, three concepts, which are in these slides, which are privacy, user identity deprecation, and statistical models. Why? Because I want you that when you leave this meeting, you have at least, you can remember a bit what we've been talking about, what we've dealing with in the digital industry, and towards what we are transitioning to, and why this is relevant to us, right? So this type of framework, this is also called a three-step framework, and it is very useful to memorize any topic. So let's get started with this first concept, which is privacy and the relation, the connection between digital advertising, brands, and the digital ecosystem. Digital advertising is based on the collection of personal data from users, what we call user identity. Digital advertising relies on user identity, on this user identity, to measure, target, and optimize ads. And this user ID has been like the cornerstone of the digital industry all these years until now. The consequence of this is that historically we've been used to loud scandals. You might remember, I think it was 2016, when there was a leak on Facebook's company, Cambridge Analytica, for saying that they influenced the US president elections in 2016. Also, the constant privacy leaks on Chrome, what we just had before, and also the constant leaks on the personal data from iPhone users, where Apple was aware of and they didn't know about it. And also, for example, the controversies about TikTok. Remember Trump asking to ban TikTok in 2020, but because for fear of Chinese espionage, although US espionage is okay, but Chinese espionage is wrong. Why? Because historically, businesses and institutions have been allowed to collect personal information without the user express consent. Now, I want to ask you, why do you think you have free access to your social media? Why do you think you can create profiles for free in WhatsApp, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram? I'm not sure if someone answered this, but all these social media use their data, your data, to sell it over to publishers and ad channels. That's the reason why they grant you your services for free. Okay, let's keep on moving to the next concept, which is user ID deprecation and the implications in interconnections, let's say, better with digital advertising, with privacy, and what we've just talked about. So as mentioned, your data, for example, in your social media, is used to create user profiles that are then used to target ads. But what's changed? First of all, growing concerns about privacy made users more reluctant to share their personal data. Also, there are a lot of regulatory pressures coming from the European Union, and also for the first time, the US is regulating all these data privacy-centric solutions. And Apple and Google, what they are doing is leading this movement to set up privacy-centric solutions. This means by deprecating the user identity. All technologies are trying to embrace solutions more focused on privacy-centric approaches without relying on data collection or user ID. They are just, Google and Apple, what they are doing is getting ahead of what is going to be law. What is going to be law, because the reality is that new approaches should be taken in order to keep on going without the user identity, without user express consent. So privacy at some point equals or means user identity deprecation. The thing is, or the issue here, or when you ask, why are you telling me this? Well, there's a lot of fear of these changes, fear of marketing teams to be able to collect reliable data, fear of industries and businesses to continue achieving long-term income through advertising, and all this represents a change in the status quo. Why? And I want here to go back to the basics a little bit. User ID affects a main field which is called attribution. What is attribution in marketing? It is the method of assigning a value to an action. This means the relative value of an action within a set of business activities. For example, you might think of a product update in which you want to know how much a product update impacts on the business results. So for example, if you start a marketing campaign, you want to know how much on sales impact these marketing campaigns, just to have a little overview. And we are facing this moment, this very interesting moment, because in the digital history, we have, for the first time at stake, the ability to continue attributing marketing. But I want to ask you another question, which is if you have or do you play football? Have you ever played football, any of you?
Yes, Ma, we do.
Okay. So attribution in football would be understanding how your team, the entire team, contributes to the result, taking into account each player and its contribution to the entire result of the game. The problem with attribution and why it is so difficult to attribute correctly is that there are many actions happening at the same time, there are many interactions, and also there are also external, let's say, factors like the state of the field, the weather, whether you play away or at home. So all these years, attribution in marketing has been limited to saying who scored the goal. It only gave value to this player who scored the goal, discounting everything else. As a consequence, I will give you all my money to this player, to the player who scored the goal, with the logic that he is going to grant me more goals. I give you all my money and I don't take into account the other players, the players who are, for example, good passers, the ones that takes a lot of chances and who are the ones who push others to finish off, even though if they don't score that much of goals. Also, think of the difference between a good or a bad goalkeeper. So all these type of interactions aren't being counted under last click attribution, what we call last click or deterministic attribution. This logic in football will help us also understand how attribution works in marketing. The issue now with this last click attribution is that they tell you, for example, that with the new greater regulations, the privacy sandbox on Google, the HTTP transparency tracking on Apple, is that these attributions method are at stake. Why? Because marketing teams will have less and less signals. They won't be able to attribute correctly. And also in some cases, we won't even know which player scores the goal. This means they tell you, this is the result of the game. Good luck trying to find out who scored the goal, right? So this makes this last click deterministic attribution fairly unfeasible, fairly impossible. But you might think, why now? And right now, this thinking of trying to go beyond this last click attribution is now at stake because of not only being impossible, but historically, last click attribution has always been there. It was also very easy to implement and easy to explain to company executives, easy to be understood by them, and it was like the default approach to last click attribution. The thing is now, as it becomes more and more difficult to implement, they are now investing more in other ways of attributing. But people knew and know that counting only the goals, counting the results, and attributing all the value to it, discounting everything else gave a disproportionate value to this last click. Undervaluing previous steps, and it is and it was not the proper method. But now I want you to see why I tell you this. I want you to see one of these new approaches. Let's see how can we embrace these privacy protective solutions, being respectful with all these privacy regulations. Let's see how these statistical methods connects with digital advertising, with privacy, and how they are evolving the digital industry. So the first case, the first example is Uber. I'm not sure if you've heard about Uber. It is a very international brand. It is a very big brand in the mobile businesses. And Uber needs you to download its application, its mobile application, to order a car. Uber used to work with a marketing agency in the past years. And what happened there? The issue was that Uber created a case study. This case study was based on an incremental analytical growth. What is this? Well, the case study was very simple. So they cut their advertising spending in half, and the number of total users went the same. Why? Because what the marketing agency was doing was attributing for paid channels users that Uber were having anyway. This means they were redundant. The case study was about they cut down their ad spend on half, and then the users coming from paid ads decreased, obviously, because they decreased the budget. But meanwhile, the users coming from organic channels, this means non-paid media, were increasing. That's the reason they thought that Uber was being at some point frauding on ads. This agency was committed fraud against them, and they thought about suing them. They did sue them, and they won the case, because this is an example that makes clear the need of new forms of measurement, of attribution beyond the deterministic model. And now let's see another example, a really different example, which is Barbie. I guess you all know this Barbie brand, or probably this doll. I would say so popular, especially in the 90s. Well, this brand, what they did was released a film like summer last year, or I think it was July. And if you haven't heard about the Barbenheimer effect, which I stated here, is that at the same time they released the film Barbie, they released the same day another film, which is the Christopher Nolan's film about a physicist, the inventor of the atomic bomb, Oppenheimer. They both were released at the same time. It was not a coincidence. The thing is that 4 times more people were going to the cinema during that weekend because this effect was called in marketing counter programming, which is offering an alternative programming to the people so that they can choose between one or the other film. As you can see, they were pretty antagonistic designs, films, etc. I tell you this because somewhere there will be some CMO of Barbie carrying a huge bonus because a lot of people went to see the film for basically putting his logo on it. There wasn't a big amount of analytical development behind it, but the only thing they done is just making a lot of people view their movie with their logo on it. That's it. Which is, I would say, a very total valid practice in this case. But let's think about a new tech, a new technological product or a new app, mobile app that has launched on the market. How do you think this type of branding, this type of marketing would work there in the digital ecosystem? The fact is they won't work on digital products, and I will showcase you 2 examples. The first one with Netflix. They had to restructure their team strongly, like a while ago. They began to reverse the way of doing branding and marketing. What this Netflix brand did was trying to find out branding campaigns a bit more measurable, quantifiable to generate subscribers by teaching not the brand itself as such, like the logo, etc., but releasing it with a specific series, specific contents. For example, the launch of a new season, a film new release, etc., not the Netflix brand as such. Another example here of how traditional marketing works is at King. King is the mobile developer of Candy Crush. And the CMO of King, the one releasing Candy Crush, a great spender, by the way, they decided to remove all advertising for this mobile application, Candy Crush, and eliminating it completely. They pause it, so they cut off their ad spend, they pause it, and then slowly, little by little, they were connecting ad channels and ad campaigns. Why? To measure the impact of each ad channel, each campaigns in the final business results. It would be like doing a drastic incremental experiment like Uber did, but more drastically. This man, this CMO of King, reduced their spend by 50% each year during 4 or 5 years without losing the product value. What does this mean for the digital industry? This means when you have a product, it is necessary to have a long-term strategy that could lead to an investment, a long-term investment. The thing with digital products, with technology, is that you need to justify that investment. You need to know how to measure. You should know the impact of this product, of your marketing activities. There's many ways. There's a lot of ways. I've mentioned incremental experimentation, but there are many others. Ways to find out your impact, measure your ad campaigns, even if it's long-term branding campaigns. So this is the trick to do when branding a new product in the market, especially concerning tech or concerning mobile applications or in the digital environment. The only issue here is that we have less and less data, fewer signals, due to this greater privacy. And as mentioned, we now know the result. We don't know who scored the goal. So we need to find out new ways how we can generate accurate prediction models with much less information. But to all of this, we had to add, lastly, a new variable, which is artificial intelligence, machine learning, or generative AI, whatever you want to call it. So all digital platforms have their own machine learning, learning languages, LLMs, models, generative AI. And I call it black box because we know the result, but we don't know how they get this result. Facebook, for example, has this, I think it's called Impact Plus. Google is called their ad network. They call the advertising campaigns Performance Max, which are the ones that these big ad channels are using to do advertising with AI. This means they scale campaigns, scale mathematical experimentation, and scale audience targeting and user segmentation by the hand of AI, doing all these experiments which otherwise would be impossible to do manually. The problem is that, as mentioned, they currently work as a black box. We don't know what parameters and variables they are using. We don't know how they work and manage their resources, so it is a bit difficult. The problem is we don't know where AI currently gives the answers, what parameters used, to what extent, and this means we have a new variable. It's like having a new football player in our team playing. We don't know, we can see him, we don't know what is he doing, we know he's playing, he's making an impact on the football game, but we can see him, we don't know what is he doing. This means we are on a new black box, not only with greater privacy, but also with the rise of AI, of machine learning. I know this topic is a bit tough, but I want to wrap it up a little bit to go to the initial requirement. I'm not sure if you remember the framework, the three concepts that we mentioned earlier, if someone remembers one or two. Okay, I'll try to refresh them. It was these three concepts that we have at the beginning of the slides, which are privacy, user ID, user identity deprecation, and statistical models. So we are fortunately facing a moment where we have many more analysis, more statistical methods to be able to implement. We know more about practices, how to calibrate and optimize our predictions, our estimations, but essentially we must begin to introduce a scientific vision in marketing, apply statistical techniques, and also embrace them in all business areas. We need to try to find out optimization methods, systematic experimentation in all of our business areas. And the idea is to embrace all these new changes, greater privacy, the rise of AI, with seeing it as a challenge rather than a fear. Because as we said in my city, even setbacks can propel you forward. Thanks for listening, and I hope you've learned one thing or two with this presentation. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so
Oh,
much, Teresa. Thank you. You can go ahead, Mom.
okay. Yes. So this is a question I've always wanted to ask when it comes to, the whole privacy and marketing and the way people there's like a whole lot of issue on people wanting their data to be like more private or like more protected. But what's your stance on it? Because like you mentioned earlier about how some of these companies, they give their services supposedly free, but in reality we are giving them our data in exchange for the services they're giving us. So what do you think about like that trade-off, especially from the point of the company? I mean, if we want to have like customized experiences, to be able to, for instance, see an ad that actually aligns to what we are looking for at that point in time, then we obviously have to be willing to part ways with our information or our data to be able to have that level of customization with the way we deal with the digital world. So like, what do you think about, that trade-off? Do you think it's a worthwhile trade-off, or we should all never accept cookies, or never, actively or intentionally give, our data to corporations just to have access to their services?
I think we should balance everything a little bit. We have to be careful with fraud, especially over the internet. There's a lot of fraud, even in mobile. The thing is, hackers are usually a little bit forward in terms of technology than regulations. Regulations are always coming late. So it is a bit difficult for example, Apple or Google to avoid user data collection. But I think they will manage it. Also, Facebook is also deprecating this user identity. The way is they are doing it is by like not leaving the option to website owners, to social media, in some cases because social media platforms own their first party data, but they can't target certain specific users anymore, or at least on a detailed way. They have to use aggregated data, which is based on usually gender, location. I think it's gender, location, and an IP address or something like that. But there's not much they can know about you. That's the reality, and that's we are moving toward too. The issue is that there are other platforms like many social media. Facebook is doing this, but you have, that they own, for example, WhatsApp. They are not doing this. I'm not sure if I have heard that WhatsApp is going to start setting up advertising in their platforms to monetize their platform, but they don't do it for free. I mean, Google and Apple, for example, are doing this to be the only owners of their own first party data. They have all the information, but they don't allow you to have this information. As a conclusion, a lot of companies, a lot of businesses running through this first party data that we're buying to Facebook or Google or Apple, now they won't have business. So the ecosystem will change a lot with these new privacy regulations, but we are on an initial stage. We need to live a little bit more to start seeing some results like realistically, because cookies, I mean, if you accept it or not accept it, I think it's just depending. If you see that the website is not fraud, it is legit, then it shouldn't be any problem. We have website owners, we have also, and mobile owners, we have restrictions them ourselves, so we cannot do a lot of things with our data. At least on the European Union is quite regulated. On the US, they are already by now writing the first law towards privacy in the digital ecosystem. So let's see what happens. But we are in a very early stage to have a realistic takeaway of this.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for this session. I really do think that this is something that everybody who is into digital marketing should be aware of and should have an idea of where the entire world is leaning. Because even Google, like on the browser, on like Chrome and the rest of them, they are moving to completely eliminate cookies or allowing websites to even like store your data in that form. However, marketing platforms are also evolving. I mean, Facebook has the Facebook Pixel, and there's another one. But there are like two systems you can set up on your website with redundancies just to get
Mhm.
user data, even if you cannot get that
Yeah,
information from like the
yeah.
browser. So it's interesting, and like you said, we are still looking to see what the regulations will be in the future and where every other where like the entire digital industry is going when it comes to privacy and user data. So thank you for coming and for impact taking time to like talk to us about all this and actually breaking it down. I really like the football analogy that you gave. It kind of like made things a whole lot clear. So I don't know, does any other person have any questions? And I'll probably hand over to the moderator to continue.
Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you so much, Mr. Gona. Thank you so much. Please react with your energetic reactions, emojis, everything. Thank you so much. And if you're just joining in, this is IWD 2024. Yes, today is our own celebration day, and this is our own chance to celebrate women in tech. And our theme for this year is impact the future, and Teresa has given us a very impacting and enlightening session. And not so many people had questions, but I have a question, and if I just want to do a test of who was actually listening. So if you can answer this question, you stand a chance of winning a gift. If you listened, um, and you listened very well. So just type in the chat box what marketing attribution is. What is marketing attribution? Anybody who remembers. I like to see who actually remembers that. What is marketing attribution? Say something about marketing attribution, said something about value, assigning values. I'm doing too much expo, so I'm not going to say more. So if you know the meaning of marketing attribution, please type it in the chat box and definitely you'll be rewarded. So yes, thank you so much. Please, if you know anybody who left, call them back. Please, we're just getting started and this is just the beginning. We're here to, celebrate and inspire ourselves. And now for the men that are here, thank you very much for joining and celebrating with us. We appreciate your presence. Thank you. So, okay, the next thing on our list is I'd like you to follow WTM Umuahia on Twitter. If you do not follow WTM Umuahia on Twitter, please go follow WTM on Twitter. Bliss is going to send in the link as soon as possible. WTM Umuahia on Twitter. You could just search Twitter WTM Umuahia and follow. Thank you very much. So the next thing on our list is, has anybody dropped the answers? Has anybody told us what marketing attribution is? Anybody? If there's nobody, I'm going to no. Miss Gona, you don't get to participate. Please. Thank you so much, Ma. No, Ma. Don't participate. Thank you, Ma. Okay, so if we do not know the answer to that question, I think I'll ask another one. There were three frameworks Teresa mentioned before she ended her session. She mentioned three frameworks we should take note of when building and embracing privacy in marketing. Number one is privacy. If you can tell me the other two, you make my night. If you can tell me the other two, you make my night. Anybody? Anybody wants to try? Anyways, this session now, while we're still waiting, no, but please, no, please, you're not participating. Thank you very much. There are specific people that are exempted from participating in anything on this on this meeting, on this event. Yes, and they know themselves. Thank you very much. So the next thing on our list is a short quiz. Who is excited? If you're excited, let me see some reactions. Who is excited? In the spirit of celebrating women and men also, since they are here, we put together a short generalized kind of quiz of just 10 questions, and we'd like you to participate. We're already almost 1 hour into the event, and we want you to get spiced up before we listen to the second speaker, and then we have a panel session or just a discussion session. So if you know any of your friends who aren't still here, we're just here to talk. We're here to talk. We're here to communicate. We're here to build connections. You could drop your LinkedIn profile, you could drop your Twitter handle, you could drop your Facebook page, connect with people here and make sure that you make a meaningful connection. Samuel is a graphic designer, Bliss is a virtual assistant, I am a product designer. There are a lot of other people here who are of great value and virtue, if I would say so. So please, connect with people as much as you can. It doesn't matter the number we are right here. We already make a great team. Yes. So the next thing on our list is the quiz session. I'll be sharing my screen. So if you want to participate in this quiz session, the rule of the game is the first person to drop the answer is the winner. For this, please would be the timekeeper, not the timekeeper, the record keeper. So please kindly take note of the first person to drop the answer to every question. The rule of the game is, I think Bliss just had an issue. Um, Bliss just had an issue. Okay, I think I can take track of that. So as many as on the call now, we are about to have a game session. So just watch your screen. Just watch your screen. I'm about to share my screen, and please, the first person, you do not get to answer twice. So think carefully before you answer. You do not get to answer twice. You have 5 seconds to answer. 5 seconds to answer. In fact, I think I'll give a grace of 10 seconds. 10 seconds to answer. So when I share my screen and you see the question, I'll read it out. There are multiple choice questions and I'll call the answers. And then you have 10 seconds to drop the correct answer. You can only answer once. Thank you very much. If you're ready, please type we are ready, like Mrs. Ugona just did. We are ready. I want to see your responses and I want to see your reactions. Please use your reaction buttons. We want to see you using them. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, I can see the energy already. So presenting my screen in 5, 4, hold up, hold up, hold up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so yes. If you can see my screen, please let me see a reaction. We can see my screen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. So welcome to the IWD game session. Remember the rule of the game. Number 1, you have 10 seconds to answer. Number 2, you only get to answer once. All right. Question number 1. Who is the first female programmer? A. Grace Hopper. B. Kimberly Bryant. C. Ada Lovelace. Who is the first female programmer, or who was the first female programmer? Who was the first female programmer? I want to see your answers. You have 10, 9. Okay, we already have our answer. Thank you very much. No more responses. We already have our first response. Thank you very much. Okay. Number 2. Question number 2. What's the full meaning of WTM? A. Women Tech Managers. B. Women Teach Makers. Okay. C. Women Tech Makers. What is the full meaning of WTM? Are we women tech managers? Are we women teach makers? Are we women tech makers? Let me see your responses. Okay, we already have our answer. Please For I like to, if you're answering, please put the number beside your question. Put your number first. Put the number you're answering before your answer. So if you're responding to question number 3, just say 3C, 3A, 3B. Thank you very much. I don't know who is Yanesia, but you're doing you have the speed of light, honestly. Okay, so question number 3. What's the name of the female lead inventor of Canva? Canva is a graphic design app. A uses data, a collaborative graphic design app. For building beautiful designs. We have Cameron Annie, we have Mali Perkins, we have Melinda Perkins. What is the name of the female lead inventor of Canva? I like to see your responses. Okay, Samuel said B. Genesia said B. We actually have smart people on this event. Okay. Is that all? You have 5 seconds more. Any more responses? Okay. Thank you very much. So, question number 4. Who is Somto Ifezwe? A. CEO of Pampay. B. CEO of Piggyvest. C. Commissioner of Information and Technology, Ebonyi. Ebonyi is a state in Nigeria for non-Nigerians on the list on the call. Ebonyi State is a state in Nigeria. So who is Somto Ifezwe? I feel like this question is a bit sidelined, but I believe you should know the answer. Can I see your responses? Okay, we have. Please remember to attach the question number of the question to your question answer, because there's no demarcation, and if you answered first, I can't tell because I do not have your number. So I'm sorry if you answered without putting your number. Please take note of that next time. Okay, I love the energy. Thank you very much. So I think we've got our answer. The CEO of Oh, I was about to say the answer. No, I didn't say it. Who is Somto Ifezwe? I think I should be saying the answers so that we would, be learning. Okay, yes. So actually, the CEO of, sorry, I keep swapping that question. Somto Ifezwe is the CEO of Piggyvest. I believe we know Piggyvest. Piggyvest is an investment app, is a savings app, a fintech, for saving and investing. So Somto Ifezwe is the CEO of Piggyvest, and that is B. B is the correct answer. Please clap for me if you didn't get it. Clap for me. I want to see you clap for me. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, question number 5. What is the full meaning of GDG? GDG, Google Development Group, Google Develop Group, Google Developer Groups. What is the full meaning of GDG? I want to see your responses. Remember to attach your number before your okay. Thank you. 4 seconds more. Anybody still dropping responses? Remember, we're taking just the first 3 responses, so you have to be as fast as possible. You have a chance to redeem yourself or renew yourself. We have 5 questions left, so be as fierce as possible to regain your place. Okay, question number 6. GSC means what? A. Google Cloud Sites. B. Google Chain Storage. C. Google Cloud Storage. GCS means what? What is the meaning of GCS? I want to see your responses. Remember to attach your number before your okay. I love the energy. We have 5 responses on that question. Yenesia is pulling weight. Please, I hope you're taking notes of the responses because you're our record keeper. I like to know the first 3 people who answered as fast as possible, who answered first. Okay.
Yeah, I'm taking records. I am.
Thank you very much. Question number 7. Did we have the answer? Okay, the answer to this question is Google Cloud Storage. Thank you very much. Google Cloud Storage. GCS is Google Cloud Storage. Number 7. Which one of the following is not a common tool for project management? A. Asana. B. Trello. C. Python. Which of the following is not a common tool for project management? Can I see your responses? Okay. 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 Great. We have 3 responses. 5 seconds more. 5 seconds more. Thank you. You know, in as much as you have the right answers, if you're not fast, oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Thank you very much. The answer here is Python. Python is a programming language. It is not a tool for project management. You use Trello and use Asana. Thank you very much. Question number 8. What is SEO? Is it SEO? Okay. Search engine optimal. Search engineer optimization. Search engine optimization. The person who set this question. Okay, she had a particular. No, let's not go there. Let's not go there. So, what is the meaning of SEO? Can I see your responses on the chat box? You have 6 seconds. 6 seconds more. 6 seconds more. Okay. 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 Thank you very much. 2 more questions and 2 more questions to redeem yourself. um, Question number 9. Okay, I didn't answer question number 8. I'll come back since we've already seen this question. Question number 9. Who developed the first AI? You have John Carthy, B. Alan Turing, C. Alan Turing. Who developed the first AI? Can I see your responses on the group, on the chat boxes? Who developed the first AI? Who developed the first AI? That's question number 9. Who developed the first AI? Okay, we have 4 responses already. Anyone who, okay, we have 1 more. Any other person wants to try? Please invite your friends. We're actually absolutely having fun here. Invite your friends and, let's have fun together. Okay, okay, okay. All right, so the answer to this question is, what's the answer, please? What's the answer? Please kindly unmute and tell us the answer.
Okay, the answer to this question is C. Alan Turing.
Thank you very much. That's the answer. Okay, so the last question for tonight is, drum rolls, please. There are no drum rolls on our reaction, but it's fine. It's okay. So question number 10. The current ambassador for WTM Umuahia is dash. The current ambassador for WTM Umuahia is, we have A. Virtue Anuzie, we have B. Bliss Udenkwa, and we have C. Ugonna Uli. Please drop your responses. Who is the current ambassador for WTM Women TechMakers Umuahia? Okay, okay, we have 3 responses. 3 responses. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. So let's go respond to the ones we didn't share the answers. Remember question number 9. SEO means search engine optimization. That's C. It's a mode of bringing you at the topmost of every search, bringing you at the top. It's a mode of bringing your business, your brand, your organization to the topmost of every search that's done on a search engine. So that's SEO optimization. GDG means Google Developer Groups. It's a community, Google brought together in almost every state and small regions to bring in technologists, developers, designers together to, grow. Number 3, what's the name of the first lead inventor of Canva? What was the answer, please? Samuel, please, can you tell us the answer? Please unmute and tell us the answer. Samuel? Sorry, I didn't get you. I didn't get what you said. Oh, okay. I think network has kicked him out. Anybody else who knows the answer? Anyone? You can unmute and speak. Okay, Samuel, you're back. Can you tell us the answer? The lead inventor of Canva. Oh, okay. I don't know
Melanie
what's the.
Perkins.
Okay. Who is that?
Can you hear me? Melanie
No, I
Perkins.
didn't. Oh, Melanie Perkins. Thank you very much. So that is B. Thank you so much. I think the first two questions were already answered. Lovelace was the first female programmer. Thank you so much, and we'll await the responses and the answers from Bliss when she's done scoring. Mind you, just 3 people are going to be rewarded. And please, I beg to invalidate somebody's responses. Please, Mrs. Ugonna, your responses are not valid. We do not want you to participate. So we are looking at other people who participated. So please kindly remove her responses. And yes, thank you very much. Please record every other person's responses. Her own has been declared invalid. Okay, thank you so much for that. We're celebrating women in tech, and that was just um a mixture of questions. I believe you could see women's participation there. You could see the first female programmer. You could see a female who was an inventor in a large software we're using today, and other questions. So, from time immemorial till when technology began till now, till date, and still counting, women have been doing amazing things. Women have been building up themselves. Women have grown. Women have, been inspired. Gone are the days where we have just men, male programmers, male developers, male designers, male engineers, male doctors. Now we have females everywhere. We have female designers. We have female full stack designers. We have female full stack developers. We have female data analysts. We have female software engineers. We have female product designers, female product managers. We have a lot of females that are doing great in the industry. I believe you know Ada Oyom Nduka. She is the founder of She Code Africa. That is a female that is doing and pulling a lot of weight in, in Nigeria as a whole. In Nigeria, we also have a lot of women. We have Excellence and Norika. We have Ifunanya. We have a lot of them who are pulling weight. We have even we have our very own Mrs. Ugonna Ole. She's a phenomenal woman. Please put your hands together for her. She's our current women TechMaker WTM ambassador, and she has been a very great person to work with. So we have women pulling weight in the industry, in the tech world. And if you're a woman here, I just wanted to take time and celebrate yourself. Please, I'm about to celebrate myself right now. So please celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself. Clap for yourself. You know, yes, we are amazing. You are doing so well. Think of when you started. Maybe you didn't even know how to use a computer, navigate yourself around a computer, but you came and then you learned. You joined communities, and then here you are. You're on this call, you're on this meeting. It shows that you're an icon, you're phenomenal. So please put your hands together for yourself, celebrate yourself. I'm celebrating myself in the reactions. You can see that I really celebrate myself. I've come a long way from where I was way before now, and I celebrate myself. So thank you very much, and that's it. So I'll stop presenting my screen now because we're about to go to the next item on our list is the second speaker. So our second speaker for today is Mrs. Ugonna Ole, our very own. Ms. Ugonna Ole is He's going to be talking to us in the next few minutes. So, Mr. Ugonna Ole is a lecturer in the Department of Computer Engineering, Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike, and Umudike is in Abia State, Nigeria, and a current registered engineer. She has a master's with distinction in artificial intelligence from the University of Stirling, Scotland, and is a Chevening alumni. She's currently undertaking a PhD program at University of Siegen, Germany. She's a co-organizer for GDG Umuahia Google Developers Group Umuahia and a Women TechMakers ambassador. She's passionate about technology and has trained on multiple Google and Facebook projects. She's currently a mentor on the Google SSA mentorship platform and a trainer on the Google Hustle Academy. Please put your hands together, give us resounding emojis as we welcome Mrs. Ugonna Ole to speak to us. She has something amazing she wants to share with us. And please open up your minds and open up your hearts and listen to her as she speaks to us in the next 20 minutes and whatever she has to share with us. And I'm sure it's going to be amazing and enriching. Thank you very much. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello everyone. So it got dark here and yeah. But
It's
anyway,
fine.
I'll be sharing my screen. So I'll be talking on Gen AI. So okay, just a minute. Let me find the right slide. Okay, so I'll be talking on Gen AI. I mean, there's so much going on when it comes to AI. Even with when it comes to in marketing, like Teresa said, we're already looking into using AI to actually promote or to like market things. So we are going to do like a very, shall I say, straightforward session on generative AI. So this is like an intro so that we will look at a lot of things. We'll look at, what exactly is Gen AI, and we'll look at how we can, what are the differences so that when next you hear somebody talking about Gen AI, you can say, okay, at least I know what they're talking about. And this is actually like should I say, let's just say we are preparing the ground for when we do our build with AI event. So this is just like the starting point. So firstly, let's look at, what's when you talk about machine learning, you hear a lot about machine learning, you hear a lot about AI. Most times and not, people want to like use those two words or those two phrases, interchangeably. And please, I hope my screen is visible. If not, please do let me know so I can, adjust that.
Your screen is
So,
visible, ma'am. I can see you.
okay, awesome. Okay, great. So when usually there's always like, oh, you can interchange like both of them. AI is like machine learning and stuff like that. But in reality, that is not the case. Artificial intelligence is not machine learning. Yes, of course, there's a correlation which we're going to talk about in a minute. So what is machine learning and like what is AI? So AI itself is a discipline under which you then have machine learning. So machine learning is a part of artificial intelligence. And when you talk about artificial intelligence, it is the theory and the development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. The whole idea of artificial intelligence came up from us wanting to build systems or to build computer systems that can think like humans and perform activities the same way humans would normally perform those activities. So then what is machine learning? Like I said, it is a subfield of artificial intelligence. please, if at any point I'm maybe too fast, or if you have any questions, you can drop them in the comment section and I'll get over to them. And then like if you could also like raise your hand, you can use the raise hand emoji, and at any point I take a break, I'll probably like take the questions. So what is then machine learning? I mean, it's a subset of AI. It gives computers the ability to learn without explicit programming. Now, what does this mean? Normally, if you want to program something, you would have like say a logic to it. You would say, so let's say now you want to design a system or program a system to identify if something is a dog or a cat. You would tell the system, for instance, if it is a certain height, it's probably a dog. If it is shorter, it's probably a cat. You would tell it maybe the weight, the appropriate usual weight range of dogs and like cats and stuff like that. You give it all these features, and it would have like a, if probably like a loop or conditional statements to go through. But with machine learning, it's not quite the case. So that's what like Teresa mentioned when she talked about the black box. So you're not explicitly programming or telling the computer what to do. You're allowing the computer to learn and then decide what to do. So you're telling the computer, for instance, these are pictures of dogs, these are pictures of cats. Now learn and be able to differentiate between the two of them. So there are two types of machine learning models. There's the unsupervised machine learning models, and then there's the supervised machine learning models. So when we say that the machine learning model is supervised, we mean that the data is already labeled, and in supervised learning, we are learning from past experiences to predict future values. So in this case, we already know like this representation we have here, where we have like a, what is this graph called? Yeah, but like the graph of tip amount against total bill amount. And then we can see that we already know which of these amounts come from either a pickup or a delivery. That's people coming to pick up the food or having the food, or the food delivered to them. So we already know all this information, and we have properly labeled them and then fed it into the system. So when we are giving the system, or when we're giving the computer system the data, we're already telling it this one is for when it's a pickup, this one is for when it's a delivery. But when you're talking about unsupervised learning, it means the data is not labeled. So an example being the example I gave about the cat and the dog, for instance. So if it's supervised learning, when we are giving the machine or the computer, the system, the pictures of the dog, we're telling it this is a dog. So we're labeling it and say this is a dog. But if we are doing unsupervised learning, then the data is not labeled. We're just giving it images and saying, oh, identify the differences and, try to see where, like, which category each of the data would fall into. So an example is also given here, where income against years at the office, and there's a clear distinction between people who are supposedly on fast track. That's people who have higher income even though they've spent lesser years at the company. So this is an example of unsupervised learning. So this is like a block diagram of how it works. So if it's supervised learning, you give the model the input data, and then the model would predict an output and say, okay, based on this picture you've given me, I think this is, say, a dog. And then it would then compare the output, the predicted output, with the expected output. Like, okay, since it knows that this is a dog, it will then compare, oh, does the lab actually say it's a dog? And then it would have an error. Now that error is then used to update the model. And so that's what's called learning. At this point, the model is learning, is being trained to, identify whatever it is supposed to do. But unsupervised learning, you just give it the data, and then goes through the model, and then the output depends, of course, on what you want it to do. Like if it is clustering, it would generate assignments to groups. Like it would say, okay, I think that these people or this group of data that you've given me belong together, or I think that this other group belong together. So that is kind of how like unsupervised and supervised learning happens. Now, under machine learning, we have what is called deep learning, and it's a subset of machine learning. So, but what is it? What is deep learning? We hear it a lot, we are using deep learning. So it uses artificial neural network to process more complex patterns than traditional, machine learning approaches. So how, like, if you did biology in school, biology, like if you did like a basic primary biology course, and they talk about the brain and talk about how you have neurons in your brain and they are connected to each other, and they fire when you get certain impulses. So it's kind of what we are trying to replicate when it comes to artificial neural network. It is inspired by the human brain, and it's kind of tries to work the same way. So the neurons, they learn to perform tasks by processing data and then making predictions based on that data that they have processed. So artificial neural network is just a narrow neural network with a single hidden layer. Most times when people say ANN, they usually mean a single layer or a single, like a network with a single hidden layer. But then when people now say deep neural network, it means that it has multiple hidden layers in the middle of the network. So, for instance, if you're doing like maybe an ANN to predict sales based on media channel budgets, so the input layer, you would input, all the data you have, what exactly is the budget for digital TV, paper, radio, and then there'll be like a hidden layer, and the output will tell you, sales, like what is the prediction for sales based on the budget that you have given it. But when you're talking about deep neural network, like I said, you would have more hidden layers. And this is kind of how the image at the bottom is kind of how an artificial neural network, the neurons, that's the nodes that you're seeing, that's kind of how they work. That's like the mathematical representation of those nodes. So you would see all the inputs, that's x1, x2 to xn, and then there's like weights. So usually when you're training a model, and this is the black box thing that happens because there's no although now there's like there's more research to try to build more explainable AI, but like there are different weights for each of the pathways. And usually what the AI does is that if it keeps adjusting that weight, it's able to give you a correct prediction. So all of that weight goes to the node, and then there's something called like an activation function, which is then applied to all of that input to then give you an output. So then when we now talk about generative AI is then a subset of deep learning. So like I said before, if you have any questions, just let me know. Just let me know. Yes, okay. So generative AI is a type of AI that generates content for you. I think we knew about them. We've used them at some point, at least by now, because they are quite popular now. They're kind of the trend. So they can generate text, they can generate code, they can generate images, they can generate speech, they can generate videos, and even like 3D content for you. Then what is now large language models? Now, large language models, they are also a subset of deep learning. And you'll notice that there's an intersection between the large language models and generative AI, because most generative, or like a lot of generative AI models, are built using large language models. However, that is not the only application of large language models. So what are large language models? LLM, like we call them. They are large general purpose language models that can be pre-trained and then fine-tuned for specific purposes. So it's like when you're for instance, you want to train a dog, there are certain things you would do. You would teach it to sit, you would teach it to come, you teach it to go down, you teach it to stay. So this is like a good dog. Yeah, a good dog is a dog that will learn to sit, to come, to stay down, to stay. So, but then when you go into specifics, there are special things that, special service dog, for instance, there's a police dog, there's a guide dog, there's hunting dog. Now, this is when you're talking about specific. Those are like special training. So a similar idea or a similar thing kind of applies to large language models. So they are usually trained to solve common language problems like text classification, question answering. That's kind of the common one we do. Document summarization, text generation. Then they can then be tailored to solve specific problems in different fields. Like the dog, you first train it to be a good dog, and then you train it specifically to be a police dog. So it's the same principle that applies here. So it can be trained in retail, it can be trained in finance, it can be trained in entertainment, it can be trained in healthcare. So at this point, when you're training it specifically for things like maybe education, sustainability, healthcare, you're training it with a relatively small size of field data set. So you're training it specifically without data set that has to do with the area you want it to specialize in. Unlike when you're, giving it like a general or a general training. So let's look at some of the characteristics of large language models. One, they're large, which basically means that they use very large training data sets because you want it to be able to understand all forms of human communication. It usually has large number of parameters because, like I said, it's a subset of deep learning, and it has a lot of hidden layers, lots of parameters to deal with. And then usually it is general purpose, which has to do with like the commonality of human language, the fact that it's kind of like there's a general way that humans speak to each other, and that's what we're training. That's what LLMs are usually, trained on. And then it is first pre-trained and then fine-tuned. So pre-trained in that is usually trained on a very large data set. And then when you want it to do something specific, you can then fine-tune it to that particular task. So what are the benefits of using large language models? So a single model can be used for different tasks. They can be fine-tuned, fine-tuning it requires minimal field data, because if you've already trained the model to be able to recognize, generic words or like to do generic tasks, if you want to fine-tune it, you don't then need the same large number of data set you would need if you were training it from the scratch. The performance is continually growing with more data and parameters. So if you're somebody who have used maybe ChatGPT or Gemini that was formerly bad, you would notice that the interaction with this generative AI models have improved. I mean, it's not the same response they'll give you some years back. That's not the same response that you get today because they're always growing. So there are two different deep learning model types. There's the first one, discriminative. Now, this one is used to classify or to predict. It's really typically trained on data set of labeled data, and it lets relationship between the features of the data points and the labels. Then there's generative, which basically generates new content, and it can do things like predict the next word in a sequence. Yeah. So let's look at them. There's predictive and then there's generative. So predictive, like I said, it learns relationship between the data and the label. So it's able to then say, okay, if the image I've been given has 4 legs, has a tail, has a pointy ears, probably a dog, and it's able to like properly give that label. Why generative is able to, when you give it an input, it learns some pattern in the unstructured content and it's able to output new content. So if you give it a word, an incomplete sentence, for instance, it can generate, or it can try to guess what the next word in that sentence would be. So this is like how to like kind of know the difference. So a generative AI, when you're looking at natural language, or when it's like an image or an audio, it's not generative AI when the output, that is why, is like a number or a class, because then it is kind of classifying. So that is more predictive than Gen AI. So this is how classic supervised and unsupervised learning works. You give it the training data, you give it the label data, and it either predicts, classifies, or it clusters the data that you've given it. But this is how generative AI works. You give it the training data, give it the label data, you also give it the unlabeled data, and then it generates new content, which could be text, could be code, could be image. So you give it all of this, trains, generates new content, which can then solve general problem. And then you can also decide to train it with new data sets and fine tune it to solve specific problems. Then this is kind of how we've gone when it comes to like programming. Initially, we have traditional programming. Like I said, you define the object cat, and then you give it a type, give it legs, give it ears, give it fur, give it likes. But now we at the wave of neural network, where you just show it and say, this is a cat, this is not a cat. And then you give it a picture, another picture, and say, is this a cat? And then it tells you whether or not it's a cat. Then when you now go to the point where we're talking about generative language models, you give it resources to read about a cat. And then you come back and say, okay, what have you learned about a cat? And what is a cat? And then maybe you could even show it a picture and say, okay, based on what you've learned from all these resources I gave you, is this a cat? So that is like the progression that we've made when it comes to like AI and Gen AI. So what is generative AI? It's a type of artificial intelligence that creates new content based on what it has learned from existing content. It's also the process of learning from existing content. The process of learning from existing content is called training, and that usually results in the creation of a statistical model. So when then given a prompt, when the Gen AI is then given a prompt, it then uses that statistical model to predict what the expected response might be, and also to generate new content. So there are like different models. It could be generative language models, or it could be generative image models. So now even platforms like Canva, for instance, they have generative image models where you can give a description and then it generates an image for you. So now these are types of generative AI based on data. You could input an image and you can get the output of a text, like in the form of image caption, visual question answering, image search, or you could also get output of an image. So whichever one, usually is up to you to decide how you want the output to look like. So what are different types of Gen AI based on data? So with text, you can have translation, you can have summarization, you can have question answering, you can have grammar correction. Then image, you can have image generation or even video generation. Audio, you can do text to speech, output, decisions. You can have like Gen AI play a game, or play a game. So generative language models, they learn about patterns in language through training data. Then give them some text and they can predict what happens next. So an example is, if you give Gen AI, for instance, this type of text and make it a sandwich with peanut butter, and it could try to fill the gap for you. You would even find this on like Google search, for instance. You type this and it will try to tell you, all the different options that you could use to fill that gap. So part of this is a generic language model, which basically tries to predict what the next word is going to be. So based on what it knows, it would like, so on the right here, you see these different words. It would rank them based on what it already knows. So the sentence here is the cat sat on. So it thinks the most likely next word could be D, or the next one is, it could be A, or it could be it. But it has ranked them the order of most likely to be correct. So that's why it said that it uses a statistical model, because it uses like probability to do the ranking. So what's the difference between, LLM development versus traditional development? So if you're doing LLM development using pre-trained APIs, you don't necessarily need machine learning expertise. You don't necessarily need training examples. You don't necessarily need to train the model, because remember, this is if you're using pre-trained APIs. But what you will need to do is to learn about prompt design, and that would be like the major thing that you need to know. But if you're doing traditional machine learning development, yes, you need to know about machine learning. You need to have training examples. You need to be able to train the model. You need computational time and hardware. And of course, you always need to worry about minimizing the loss function. So how it works. So this is basically how like generative AI works when you give it an input. So you give it an input like how is it going, and then there's like a transformer which encodes the components, and there's an encoding and decoding that happens. Then it generates a pre-trained transformer model that is able to give you an output. And this pre-training happens because it's usually exposed to like a large this pre-trained model is developed using pre-training with large amount of data, with billions of parameters, and usually with unsupervised learning. So this is something that you probably should be aware of if you're using generative AI or you're designing generative AI. This is hallucinations. These are words or phrases that are generated by the model that are often like nonsensical or grammatically incorrect. Sometimes you would ask the model a question and it will just give you an answer that is hallucination. So you have to be aware of it. And these are some of the things that could cause that. Either the model is not trained on enough data, or the model is trained on noisy or dirty data, or the model is not given enough context, or the model is not given enough constraints. So this is a problem or something that could happen when that's why they usually train the model on like a very large data set, so that it does not hallucinate. So if the model has not been trained properly, especially in that area that you've given it a prompt, it could hallucinate and give you like the wrong answer or something like that. So what is prompt design? Remember how I told you that if you want to do like or develop an LLM, you need to at least know about prompt designing. So prompt designing is about the quality of the input, which determines the quality of the output. It's kind of garbage in, garbage out. Now, like we're taught in, I don't know, kinder, in primary or nursery, I don't know, primary, yeah. So you're told, garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't give an LLM very good or good quality prompt of, input, it's also not going to give you a very good output. So the answers you get depends on the questions you ask. So the questions there is the prompt that you have designed, while the answers is the response that you're getting from the model. So there are different types of prompting. There's zero-shot prompting. That's you just provide a single command to the LLM without any examples. Like you just say, write a profile, for instance, or solve this equation, and you don't give it any clue. One-shot prompting is when you provide a single example of the task to the LLM. And then the third one is few-shot prompting, which provides a few examples of the task to the LLM. And then when you're talking about, prompting, you're talking about, inputting a prompt, and then the the machine learning or the Gen AI would then generate content. So what are the different model types that you might have? There's text-to-text models. I'm not sure if I still have time here, but anyway, I'm going to try to okay. So there's text-to-text models, which takes natural language input and produces, text output. There are lots of applications: summarization, classification, translation, research, extraction, clustering, content editing, and rewriting. There's also text to image, when you talk about image generation or image editing. There's text to video, talk about video generation, video editing, even game assets. There's also text to task when you talk about automation, virtual assistants, software agents. So this is it. You give all this data into the foundation model, and then it can then adapt to be able to do these different tasks for you: question analysis, sentiment analysis, information extraction, image capturing, object recognition, and also following instruction. So this is the landscape, the AI application, generative AI application landscape. Text, what can you do with text? You can do marketing. You can use it to generate marketing content, sales content. You can use it for support, for general writing, note taking, and a lot of other stuff. There's even a Gen AI that you could add to, say, this meeting, for instance, and it will take notes for you and like summarize everything. So for coding, you can use it for code generation, code documentation, text to SQL, web app builders. For image, you can use it for image generation, um, for designing. For speech, you can use it for voice synthesis. Video, you can use it for video generation. 3D, you can use it for 3D modeling. And then there's like a whole lot of other stuff you can also use Gen AI. So a typical LLM use case is question answering, which is kind of what like a lot of people use it for. So is the task of automatically answering questions posed in natural language. So question answering models are able to retrieve the answer to a question from a given text. So this is used when you're searching for answers in a document. A practical example is if you're using Edge, right? The Edge, yeah, the Microsoft browser. You're using it. There's actually where you can ask the chat AI, and you can ask it any question about whatever document you're looking at on your browser at that point in time, and to answer you based on that document. You can ask it to summarize documents. You can ask it to define something based on the document, or whatever questions that you want to ask it. And that's not like the only that's not the only Gen AI that can do that. Even with Gemini, you can put a link to maybe your Google Doc, and you can ask you questions based on that particular document. So question answering usually requires domain knowledge. If you want to specifically have Gen AI that answers specific questions for specific domains, then it needs to have that information. So whatever domain, whether it's education, pharma, and healthcare. Then generative question and answer, it usually generates free text directly based on the context. So there must always be a context, yeah? Then, so let's look at an example that we have here of two questions asked to Bard. It's now Gemini and also ChatGPT. So question one, this was asked to Bard. And this year's sales are $100,000, expenses are $60,000. How much is net profit? And then the answers are said net profit is calculated by subtracting expenses from sales. In this case, sales are 100 and expenses is $100,000 and expenses are $60,000. Therefore, net profit is this. And then it goes on to even define what net profit is and what high net profit indicates. Then question two, asking ChatGPT, I run a nonprofit, how can I use generative AI? And it goes on to list all the ways that you could possibly use generative AI as a non-profit. Then what is prompt design? It is the process of creating prompts that elicit the desired response from a language model. But there's two parts to it. There's prompt design and there's also prompt engineering. So prompt design is just, usually like involve instructions and context passed to a language model to achieve a desired task. Or prompt engineering is about optimizing the prompts to efficiently use language models for a variety of applications. So okay. So there are three main like types of LLM, and they each need prompting in different ways. There's generic or raw language models, and they predict like the next word based on the language in training. There's instruction tuned, usually trained to predict a response to the instruction given in the output. And then there's dialogue tuned, which is trained to have a dialogue by predicting the next outcome. So okay. There's generally an observation you should always make about, no, an observation to make about LLM. A model that can do everything has practical limitations. So more reliable models are like task specific, more reliable models or more reliable LLMs are made using task specific tuning. So by specifically tuning them to whatever task that you want them to do, makes them more reliable. And that's it. I'm going to round off here. Like I said, this is just basically an introduction or a draft of what what the landscape is like now when you're talking about artificial intelligence or when you're talking about machine learning. And the idea there is to so you know that okay, if so that you know that okay, if we are talking about artificial intelligence or machine learning or deep learning or Gen AI, this is actually what it means. And it gives you the foundational knowledge for the next sessions that as a community we are also planning on having. So are there any questions? No?
Please type in your questions if you have any questions, and Mrs. Uguna will be kind enough to answer them.
Yes, so let me know if there are any questions or anything.
Okay. I don't think there are any questions. I don't see any on the chat box. Please let's put our hands together with our emojis and reactions for Miss Uguna for the wonderful session. It was amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, Mr. Chime has a question, or he raised his hand. Mr. Chime, you
No, I
like
just
to say
wanted to.
something?
I wanted to clap. I wanted to clap for Gona. I really have no question, guys. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Gona. Thank you for the section. Thank you very much. Yeah, but
Okay.
we're gonna. Are we okay? We're gonna share your slide right on the group so we can all take a look and also.
Yes.
Yes, I'll share the slides.
Yes, I was going to ask that. The slide will be made available for as many as are here to be shared on the community platform also. So thank you so much, Ma. I learned. I've always been hearing generative AI and predictive AI, but today I actually got to know the difference. So thank you so much for that session. It was beautiful. So today we've had two amazing sessions. We've had sessions on privacy, marketing, and we've had AI. This is amazing. Please, I don't know, this is a beautiful meeting already. And since there are no questions, there are no questions. We're supposed to have a panel session, something that's supposed to inspire us as we listen to other women or women here already share their ideas, their stories, and speak to us. So Having had these two sessions, and since we're already running out of time, I'll just do a very quick and short question and answer session. It's going to be interactive. I'll ask Theresa two questions. Theresa, please signify that you're still here present. Hello, Theresa.
Hi, hello. Yes, I'm here. I'm still here.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll be asking you two questions, and I'll be asking Miss Ugonna two questions. So I'd like for you to respond. I'd like you to
Okay.
tell us. Yes. We want you to share your story, but not really your story because that's going to like take a long time. So basically, since we're celebrating women today, we just want you to give us answer two questions. We'll shed light on um your experience and your journey so far. So number one, I think I'd like to ask you, please, can you share a significant challenge you faced in the tech industry as a woman and how you overcame it? You've grown this far, you've come this far, and I'm sure that there were some certain challenges you faced when you were starting out, beginning, as a manager, as a developer, so as a marketer, and yes, a marketer. So please, can you tell us significant challenge you faced and how you overcame it, specifically as a woman? Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I started working with um, mobile developers, a very known game developer here in Spain, and we were around 80 people working at the office, and only two women, me and someone else from the data analyst team, and we were wondering why uh, we were so few women in this environment. So we decided to try to ask other friends to join our challenge, which was for this game developer to keep promoting, to keep developing games. So little by little, we also speak with our leads and take actions to try to um, embrace this challenge of trying to find more women in our company, and it did move. The thing is, usually the developers were mainly men. I would say almost all of them were men, um, but we started to be some marketers also on the team who are women, start hiring with new 2D and 3D artists. And I think that was very nice to have another perspective at work, because it doesn't look good when you have a company picture and they are all men only company. So it was nice to have other women on board, although we come from different environment. And I think that's the type of thing we should pursue. We should challenge, try to um, find out more women, try to get them known, try to speak more on events like this one. So all these things are the ones that bring change, and I think we should be proud of being here, of trying to move things forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is so basically there were men on the team, a lot of men, even on the company's profile and pictures, but she stayed. She was diligent and she was hardworking, she was resilient, and look where she is today. So thank you so much, Teresa. That is to women out there, ladies and girls on this call today. Please stay. It doesn't matter how the industry is right now or whatever you feel, or maybe you're discouraged because you feel like there are no ladies. Please stay on, remain, and I'm very sure that you would hit that mark very soon. Thank you so much, Teresa. I'll come back to you, but I would like to ask Mrs. Ugonna, please, Can you elaborate on meaningful connections established with those people who inspired progress in your career? Because I'm sure you didn't make it alone. You didn't come up as an island. I'm sure that there are people you had connections with that, you know, inspired you and brought you up and helped you come up to where you are today. So please, can you elaborate on meaningful connections you built? Thank you, ma.
Okay. So well, like you said, being an island doesn't really work. I mean, personally, I'm actually social, but I'm actually very much introverted. So I'd rather like be at home or not go anywhere and stuff like that. But I've learned that it is important, that community is important. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of some of the opportunities that I've had has been because of community, and a lot of it has been because I reached out to help, because I wanted to help
Yeah.
in like what was happening. Um, so one of my very meaningful like relationship that I have, and it was a relationship that led to like a whole lot of other relationships, was an event I attended after I just finished university. And then a lady spoke at the event, and she was like, she was telling us about her NGO that is about empowering women. And I said, you know what, I'm interested. I want to be involved in empowering women. And I went to meet her and I told her, oh, I'm interested to volunteer with your organization. And from there, we planned a lot of events in Umuahia. We had, a lot of community activities. And we even then did we got involved in a Google project that involved, training people on digital skills. And from that project, I was able to get on another Google project on also training, and eventually even like a Facebook project on Facebook Boost My Business, where we train business owners on how to use Facebook to properly, like, boost their business. And even so, that was like a should I say, a ripple effect. And from there, I met a lot of very, established people in the tech world, like Mr. Daniel. He spoke at our the last event we had, and a whole lot of other people. And that was all because I decided I wanted to help. And that's not the only like relationship or the only opportunity I've gotten because I decided to help. And also because of all of that experience I had when I wanted to do my master's in the UK, I was able to get a scholarship, mostly not just because of my like excellent academic background, but also because of the like activities, the things I've done, the oh, the moderator dropped. Okay. But also because of the things I'd done, the impact I'd had on my community. So when it comes to like relationships, you should always look at how you can give value, how you can impact, and also don't be scared to like make connections. Don't be scared to reach out to people. Always try to put yourself out there. Always try to connect with other people. Even the PhD I'm currently doing, which is a PhD position, I got it because somebody said something about like a project the university here in Germany had with my university in Nigeria. And I said, oh, I'm interested. How does it work? Can I get involved? How can I help? And that person said, you know what, they have opportunities. Do you want to apply? And I said, oh, sure, why not? And well, and the rest is history. So it's always good to try to look for opportunities to be relevant, to give value and to connect with like-minded people. Yeah. So
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you very much. So always connect with like-minded people, and my own take is go with the mindset to serve, to help, not just to benefit. Because when you go with the mindset to serve, to help, to be of service, to volunteer, eventually you would benefit in the long run. Because like she said, she went to assist, she showed interest, and most of the benefits she got later on were because of her interest previously. That is it. So I would have loved to ask more questions, but I think we're at we've spent 2 hours. We spent 2 hours sharing ideas, talking, and enjoying ourselves while celebrating women. I would like to add that yes, Ms. Gona said build communities, join communities. There's WTM, there's GDG. GDG is Google Developer Groups. WTM is Women Tech Makers. And then we have here in Umuahia a community that it is budding and coming up. And if you're looking for communities to grow, personally, I remember when I first volunteered. I did my first had my first volunteering role. It was at a certain Deaf Fest. Okay, Deaf Fest Uyu. Okay, that was actually my first tech event. I think 3 years ago, and you can imagine the time, 3 years ago. And but then it opened my eyes to so many possibilities. And then I was still a front end developer, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to remain in that stack. But as time went on, as I volunteered, as I joined communities, as I spoke to other people, I had to learn. Miss Gona said she's not really the most, open of people. Not did she say open? Um, Someone who can really, really relate and interact. But because of the fact that you have to, you know, work with people and build connections, you have to put that part of you aside to make sure that you communicate to people. Please learn how to communicate with people. When you go for events, take pictures, collect phone numbers, reach out to them later on. You know, talk to them, have meaningful conversations. Half of the people on this call were actually met on this meeting, on this event today, were actually met in an event. It's amazing to note that half of the people that are on this meeting currently, I never knew them from Adam, but I met them at an event. And look where we are today. Life is amazing because the little things that we not really take serious, they matter. They would matter in the long run. So this is me saying to every woman here, thank you so much for staying. I think we're just women here right now. Okay, I think yes, we're just women here. So it's a girl house. Okay. Mm, there's a man, sorry. So please communicate, relate with people. When you go for events, make sure you collect phone numbers, join communities, have meaningful conversations. And yes, this is me cheering to our growth, our development, you know, making impact in the tech industry. This is me saying to growth, to more amazingness, to more startups, to more communities, to more businesses, to more you know a lot of collaborations. And I believe all of us doing all of this together will grow. So this is the point where I say thank you very much for coming for IWD 2024 Umaya. This was an amazing session. We're about to do a kind of closing remark, and if you had any questions, I'm sure you would have dropped it by now. I just want to say thank you to Teresa, thank you to Mrs. Oguna, thank you to Chime, thank you to Bliss, thank you to Samuel, of course, for staying to this point. Thank you for Beatrice, thank you to Beatrice, thank you to Yanisia. Bliss, I'd like to know the winners of our quiz because we're at the end already. We're at the end. We're wrapping up now. And I just want to know who are the first top three winners. If we have top three, if we have top two.
Okay, I was patiently waiting for this. I thought you've
Yeah,
even forgotten. All
I know I've not
right.
forgotten.
All right. So we have we have the top three persons. Of course, the first person on the list is Yesenia. I don't know if I called that name
Oh,
correctly.
okay. I pronounced it Yanesya. It's actually Yesenia. Oh God. I'm
Yeah. Oh,
sorry.
sorry. Yes, Yesenia, right? Yesenia
Yesenia.
for something that begins with C. And
Yesenia, please can
she
you say hi later on?
okay. She had 7 points out of 10.
Oh,
The first runner up is Samuel. Samuel had 2 points, and then Ebere. Ebere had a point. They are our top three for tonight.
oh, great, great. Please put your hands together for Samuel, Iberi, and Yesenia. You did very well. So please, our own source of reward is we want to gift you data subscription. So kindly drop your numbers on the chat box, and um Bliss will take note of them, and then you'll be absolutely rewarded. Thank you so
Sorry.
much for.
Would it be possible for the Yesenia, right? I would really like to know. Can we maybe hear your voice or just say hi?
Yes, please, Yesenia, can you say hi? Uh-oh.
Hello,
Um,
I'm Yesenia. Thank you.
oh, hi, Yesenia.
Hi.
Glad to meet you.
Nice to
Thank you
meet
so much for joining and staying up to this time. Please, can you introduce yourself? We just want to know you more.
you. Okay, thank you to you for the opportunity. Um, I'm ASO manager, junior.
Okay, I didn't really hear that. Did you say social media manager?
No,
Okay, just tell us your name and what you do.
I am ASO manager,
Oh, you're a manager. I think
which
that's fine.
yes, which mean in App Store optimization, apps and games.
Oh, okay. Do you work with Teresa?
Yes,
Okay, okay. Thank you so much for coming around. Thank you. Really appreciate your presence. Thank you for staying out to the end. Thank you for participating in our games session. Thank you for, staying in. We really appreciate you. We're sending thanks all the way from Nigeria. Thank you so much, Yesenia. Thank you, Teresa,
well,
for bringing your friend along and your colleague. We're happy to have this addition. Thank you. We look forward to, collaborating more in the future and having more of this kind of meetings. So
yeah,
this is thank you so much.
you're
Thank you
welcome.
so much.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay. So this is the end of IWD 2024. We've looked forward to this day, and eventually it has come to pass. It has come, and it was a success. So thank you so much to everyone that joined. Please go tell them the news. Now, WTM is a budding community. This is WTM Umuahia. We're growing, and it's a community that encourages, you know, ladies and gives ladies visibility, resourcefulness, and community. Resources and community. So please invite every lady out there. Please follow us on Twitter and join the GDG groups. Bliss has sent in the links already. Share it to your friends. Anybody that wants a community to grow, anybody that wants a a place to grow. And like I said, we're growing. So if you would like to volunteer, we're looking out for volunteers, people who would be, social media managers, committed ones, committed volunteers, graphic designers. So reach out to your friends who are interested in growing, building up themselves. I personally began this way. I think I began to do graphic. I was a volunteer graphic designer for about two tech communities, even when I wasn't that great a designer. I'm not still that great though. I don't do much of graphic design. And this was what led me to the people that I know today. So please join communities and reach out to your friends. And I trust that we're going to do great. I look forward to celebrating more of us in the future and all of this. So please, Mrs. Ogonna, do you have anything to say before we close?
Um, so yeah, thank you everybody for your time, for your attention. Thank you very much, Teresa, for showing up for us and for staying here to the very end. Also thanks to my other co-lead who is still here, Chime, for GDG Umuahia. Thank you too for the support throughout this event. Thank you to our moderator. No, thank you for being there. I mean, throughout the process of planning this event, because I just moved to Germany and had some other personal issues going on, but you were there and you were available. So thank you everybody who helped make this event a success, either by helping us share the word, by helping us by attending and being here and being available. So thank you. And hopefully this is not going to be the end and would, continue to do really awesome things. So if hopefully like you'd follow us on social media, follow up what we are doing next, and we'll see you at our next event. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you very much. I appreciate your, inclusion and bringing me in. I really appreciate the trust and the yes, I am really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you to Mr. Chime for bringing us in as your family too. Thank you for your support, and encouragement and your presence. Your presence always means a lot. So having said that, this is where our vote of thanks comes to an end. So we're signing out now. Please do well to share screenshots and snippets of everything, things you learned today. It doesn't matter how vague they sounded today. In future, you would be thankful for hearing them now, because when you hear them the second time, they would eventually make sense, and then a third time, a fourth time, eventually you would resonate with them. So thank you so much, everyone, and this is me saying bye bye. Thank you and good night. Yes, the recordings will be shared afterwards. Yes, it's going to be shared
Yes,
to our
Teresa, I
mail.
would send you an email with the recording. Yeah.
The recordings are going to be shared to as many as Yes, the recordings are going to be shared. Thank you very much and good night, everyone. Please have good night rest. Thank you. Good night
Thank
from
you.
Nigeria. It's actually night in Nigeria, so good night. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Good night. No, no.
Good night.